Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Guilds of Ravnica Draft here on the channel. If you're watching this on YouTube, which you must be because this is a YouTube exclusive video, be sure to click that thumbs up and subscribe to the channel to get updates for whenever I post new content. I really do appreciate everyone who supports the channel in that way. If you are a subscriber, clicking the thumbs up is the best way to show your continued support for the channel. Also, leave a comment if you just want to say hello, or if you have any questions about the draft or the gameplay. I do respond to pretty much every single comment that I get. But without further ado, let's get into the pack. That is why I'm drafting after all. Aurelia Exemplar of Justice is a complete bomb. One of the best mythics in the set in terms of limited. Just a 4-mana 2/5 flyer that can become a 4/5 Vigilance Trample because you can target itself. And it has Mentor. So it's just complete house. Really makes me want to play Boros. It makes any Boros deck incredible. Arboretum Elemental, I'm not a huge fan of. It's really expensive. I think it's probably playable in Selesnya, especially if you have some things like Sworn Companions to help get it out, but it's not the greatest. World Soul Colossus is a card that I'm a little bit down on after watching some, listening to some limited resources and hearing their evaluations of it, because I was a little bit higher on the card because it can be huge, but their evaluation, if you don't know what limited resources is, it's a podcast where they talk about limited, and I highly recommend you check it out. But it's basically, they were saying it always just gets chump blocked, and that has been my experience with it as well. There's also a ton of Death Touch creatures, so that makes it worse. Okie doke, so Aurelia really makes me want to play Boros. Legion Guild Mage is probably one of the best uncommons for Boros. I do like Guild Mage's form a decent amount, but Legion Guild Mage is a perfect card for Boros. Really solidifies me into this archetype. And normally I don't like to commit to a 2-color combination right after picks 1 and 2. But because Aurelia is so strong and Legion Guild Mage is so strong, I'm overwhelmingly likely to play Boros this time. And I think that I've refined my understanding of the archetype to such a point where I'm going to be able to have success with it. Sunhome Stalwart is another great 2-drop. If Legion Guild Mage wasn't in the pack, I'd be taking the Stalwart here over the Guild Mage's form. Then I'd probably take the Forum or the Take Heart. But here it's a pretty easy Legion's Guild Mage. Other cards in the pack, there's another Arboretum Elemental, but I still don't think that card's great. And I'm not since I have the Aurelia, I definitely want to be looking to play Boros. Okie doke. So we have 2 cards for the Boros archetype already. Unmoored Ego is an unplayable rare. Pretty much the reason this card is unplayable is because it gives you card disadvantage guaranteed. So essentially, you cast this card and you take their best card, but they're still getting a card back, even if you snag it from their hand. If you just take their best card out of their deck, they might not even draw that card anyway, and you've spent a card from your hand. So you're giving yourself a guaranteed disadvantage for the potential of a slight advantage that they're drawing a worse card than their best card. So you pretty much never want, when I say pretty much, I mean you never want to play Unmoored Ego in Limited. Book Devourer has been solid in some decks, but a lot of the time the Izzet decks don't have to get up to 6 lands, and it's a 6-mana 4/5 isn't really what Boros wants, but if you need a big finisher, you can sometimes play it. Conclave Tribunal is going to be my pick though. Very nice removal, lets your cheaper creatures contribute to casting their removal. From this pack, the Ornery Goblin or the 10th District Guard might wheel. That's another card that I might consider. Severed Strands is a card that I think like a Golgari deck can run it, but most decks really don't want it. Okay, so here, this is one of the picks where I think knowledge of how to draft Boros is really important. Healer's Hawk is one of the key cards for a Boros deck. You want to get started on turn 1. You want to turn on your early mentor creatures. Mentoring up a Healer's Hawk is really huge. I think at different points in the format, I would have been tempted by the Rebel Pelt Boar just because it's a decent effect, but it is a 4-drop. Those are really expendable. What you want to be doing in Boros is maxing out on your 1s and 2-drops. So if you've seen my video on drafting blue-white hyper aggro, I mean, it's one of my better videos, but I mean, I have a lot of videos that I think are pretty good, but it's a video that I'm pretty proud of because it's a kind of archetype that I kind of thought of, but because I was thinking of all the good 1 and 2-drops, but then I realized you can often do the same thing with Boros where you just play all of the 1 and 2-drops you see. You don't necessarily want to go that all in, but Healer's Hawk is one of the best 1-drops because you play it on turn 1, you put a Mentor on it, and then it's impossible for them to race with anything. Camaraderie is a fine rare. I haven't had good experiences with it. I don't think you need to prioritize it. Flight of Equinox is a decent finisher, but we're definitely just kind of committed to Boros at this point, so we're just going to take the Healer's Hawk here. Okie doke. Now, Conclave Guildmage, I just want to talk about this card a little bit. I think you don't need to prioritize this card all that much. If you're Selesnya and nobody else wants it, there's not usually going to be like a ton of Selesnya drafters. There's going to be 1 or 2 a lot of the time. So you'll probably be able to get these relatively late if you are the only Selesnya drafter. It's a 2-mana 2/2. The trample ability, I've never seen that come up one time. Like, literally never. And the ability to make an elf is nice, but it's not, like, game-breakingly powerful. So I don't think you need to prioritize Conclave Guildmage an insane amount. Here I'm picking between Barging Sergeant, Intrusive Pack Beast, and Parhelion Patrol. I think Intrusive Pack Beast is nice. I'm not a huge fan of the Parhelion Patrol. I think I'm going to take the Parhelion Patrol, though, just because it's cheaper. You don't really want to have too many expensive cards in your deck. And if you can manage to buff this up somehow, then it can do some work. I'm not a huge fan of it, though. I would be very fine if I cut this card. To be honest, though, I'd be fine if I cut any of those cards, because they're all 4 or 5 mana, and you really don't want that many expensive cards. Like, just compare Aurelia to Parhelion Patrol. I know this is a Mythic Rare, but this is a 4/5, this is a 2/3, and they do the exact same thing pretty much in that regard. So I'm really not a huge fan of Parhelion Patrol, though it does work decently with Parhelion Patrol, because you can buff it up and give it Mentor the turn it comes into play. Hammer Dropper is a consideration, but I'm just going to take Sure Strike. I think the key with aggressive Boros decks is to take the combat tricks incredibly highly and the clunkier, expensive cards much lower. So I think I'm going to take the Sure Strike over the Hammer Dropper. Maniacal Rage isn't a card that I'm really even considering here. The reason that I like taking the Sure Strike is because when you're playing an aggressive deck, a lot of the time your opponent is going to be forced to block your creatures. So you're curving out on your opponent, and they have to block your guy, or they just risk, like, because they're tapping out for their creature so that he can block. They block your guy. You spend like 2 mana to answer their 3-drop because your combat trick is so cheap. The downside of a combat trick is if you're on defense, then they can blow you out because they'll have mana up. So if they attack you and you try to use the combat trick, they can use instant speed removal. Here I'm going to take Hunted Witness, keep up the aggressive theme. I do need some more 2-drops, but I don't think I'm going to prioritize Intrusive Pack Beast as much. I think I'd run 1, but I do think 5-drops are much less premium. You just want to be affecting the board on the early turns of the game. Flight of Equinox is a card that I don't think is great in Boros. You don't want to be taking turns off to cast this a lot of the time. And the games where you would be casting Flight of Equinox means the board is stalled, which means that oftentimes you'll have already traded off a lot of creatures. I think I'm just going to take Barging Sergeant. I think it's a much more effective 5-drop than Flight of Equinox. Equinox is going to be like a 6-drop, and you're not really going to be able to cast it ever. I'm not a fan of Torch Courier. I'm just going to take the Barging Sergeant here and hope for the best here. Arboretum Elemental Wheel, that's not a surprise. Now we are picking between Fearless Halberdier, which we could take just to fill out our curve. We don't currently have any 3-drops. We'll probably not end up playing it because our deck will probably end up a little bit better than that. We could also take a Candlelight Vigil to try and just steal some wins out of the sideboard. I think that we'll be able to get a Candlelight Vigil later if we want one. I don't like Ledev Guardian in Boros because you don't want to be convoking as much. I'm just going to take the Fearless Halberdier. It's not the greatest card, but sometimes you just need to curve out. Here I'm going to do the exact same thing, take a Fearless Halberdier. Not going to take an Is It Locket. You don't really want to play Lockets in Boros. And now a 10th District Guard. It's really nice to get that 2-drop back. I actually kind of do like having a 10th... I don't like 10th District Guard as a card. It's a pretty weak 2-drop. We really need... What we need to see for this deck right now are Wojak Bodyguards to turn some of our mediocre cards into, like, good cards. And... Rebel Pelt Boar came back. That's really nice. It's really nice because it lets your your weaker guys attack later on. The thing with Boros is you can often end up with really weak creatures in your deck if you aren't like if it isn't the most open, or you can end up with a bad curve, and those are the 2 biggest downsides. So right now we do have this Aurelia, we do have this Legion Guildmage, and a Healer's Hawk. Those are our 3 best cards. I mean, Conclave Tribunal is pretty good too. I mean, yeah, I think it's better than it goes Aurelia probably, then Legion Guildmage, then Conclave, then Healer's Hawk. But overall, not a super powerful deck. Parhelion Patrol does get a little bit better with Rebel Pelt Boar in your deck. Okie doke. This is actually a really tricky pick. Wojak Bodyguard is a key common for this archetype. It really makes everything else tick. If you curve a 2-drop into Wojak Bodyguard and they don't kill your 2-drop immediately, you're really, really, really far ahead. It also works really well with the 1-drops because it's pretty much guaranteed to be able to attack then, especially if you have a Healer's Hawk. Goblin Cratermaker, though, is really, really nice as well. I think it's really close between those 2. I'm not even considering the Integrity Intervention. I already have a combat trick. I'm not going to be casting this for 4 mana as much because I want to be using my mana really on really cheap plays. So here, it's definitely between Cratermaker and Bodyguard. Hopefully Take Heart Wheels. But it's actually really close here. I think it's much closer than it normally would be because I don't really have any 2-drops right now. Really tricky to consider here. I'm going to take the Wojak Bodyguard. I think I'm not using this ability as much as I would like because I want to be just spending my mana every turn casting creatures and combat tricks. Normally, though, I think Crater Maker, like pack one, pick one, I would definitely take the Crater Maker. But given that I'm Boros, I think that it's so important to have Wojek Bodyguard and that type of effect. Ooh. Interesting. So Runaway Steamkin as a 2-drop, I think we just have to take... It's actually close. I think a lot of the things that I've been trying to do in Boros is just to prioritize good creatures over good removal. Justice Strike is so good, though. Though, in Limited, it doesn't kill everything you want to kill. A lot of the creatures I'm most worried about have more toughness than power. I'm just going to take the Runaway Steamkin. I have a lot of red cards. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 red cards right now. I'm going to end up with more. Justice Strike is a nice removal spell, but what you need to realize is that in Boros, you want to be playing, I think the ideal mix is like 19 creatures, 3 combat checks, 1 removal spell. Like that's like a good mix of cards. Justice Strike, the fact that it doesn't kill some of the creatures, like really hurts it in a Boros deck. Like in a controlling deck, you'll be able to play Justice Strike and get value out of it, but like Justice Strike versus Take Heart is going to be just as effective a lot of the time. And Runaway Steamkin is a pretty nice 2-drop. It works well with Mentor. Overall, just pretty happy to get it. Here, I'm not a fan of maximized velocity at all. I already have a Barging Sergeant. This Candlelight Vigil is pretty much guaranteed to wheel. Here I'm going to take a Boros Guildgate. I really don't mind running one Boros Guildgate because it really makes sure you don't get mana screwed. Getting mana screwed is one of the easiest ways to lose a game of Limited. I'm going to just see if I can just cut those cards for now. Just run these a little bit stronger cards. I'll just keep them in for now. But one of the easiest ways to lose a game of Limited is to get mana screwed. Even though you might not be casting all of your spells perfectly on curve, if you have one Guildgate, a lot of the time you'll be able to play it on turn 1 when you don't have another creature to play. You'll be able to find a turn to slot it in. And being able to guaranteed cast all of your spells is so key for being able to win a game of Limited that I think Boros Guildgate is definitely worth a slot in the deck. Okie doke. There is another Guildgate here. Fire Urchin is not my favorite card. It can work. It works nicely if you have some cheaper mentor creatures. I'm really happy I took the Wojek Bodyguard because it looks like I am going to be able to get there in the 2-drop department, but I might not be able to find as many mentors as I would like. Fire Urchin versus Boros Guildgate number 2. I'm going to just take the Fire Urchin, make sure I have enough creatures to play. Here, another kind of close pick. Smeltward Minotaur is interesting for sure. It's definitely a significant upgrade over the Fearless Halberdier. Remember, there were a couple of Take Hearts in the early packs, and I'm hoping to wheel one or both of those. I don't really want to take a 5-drop here or a Hammer Dropper. Hammer Dropper is just so expensive. I already have a Parhealing Patrol. I think I'm just going to take the Smeltward Minotaur, hope to pick up a couple more combat tricks, and it also can get mentored by Wojek Bodyguard, which is nice. Can lead to some bigger turns. I don't think I need another Fire Urchin, which it might wheel anyway. Hammer Dropper is fine, but not incredible. I already have 3 4-drops that are fine. Parhealing Patrol is another 4-drop, so I'm just going to take the cheaper card, the 3-drop, and take out this Fearless Halberdier. Okie doke. Now I'm going to take a Skyline Scout. I'm not the hugest fan of Skyline Scout. A lot of the time, you don't really have the mana to use its ability in the early game, but it is a nice 2-drop to have compared to some of the other ones I have especially. Sky Knight Legionnaire. You pretty much, if you are in Boros, you take Sky Knight Legionnaire over everything. Inspiring Unicorn's sure, it's a fine card, but it is a 4-drop, which means it's inherently slower, and Sky Knight Legionnaire is just premium. So now I can cut this other Fearless Halberdier. Now I can play this 10th Disregard, and then after this pack is the moment of truth. That's where I to see whether I get the Take Hearts back. Just want to look at other cards in this pack just to discuss them a little bit more, because I do have 20 seconds, and there's a clear pick. I think Moonmark Painter is unplayable. You should never play it. I think the Lockets are quite bad. You pretty much should never play these as well. Wario Copy is actually surprisingly playable. It's kind of one of the things I read in an article by Pascal Maynard. It was really interesting. He said that Wario Copy, I think it was by Pascal, said that Wario Copy gets better in Golgari because it forces them to trade with it, so you can trigger your Undergrowth, because it does have Vigilance. So if they don't block it, they're just taking the damage in. It's still on defense anyway. And Take Heart did come back. That's perfect. This Take Heart coming back makes me happy because I think the other Take Heart will probably come back too. Perfect. The other Take Heart did come back. I would be fine playing 4 or 5 combat tricks of that nature in this type of deck. That's one of the keys to the archetype, I think. And I did get that Candlelight Vigil that I was talking about. It's more of a sideboard card, but you can definitely bring it in if your opponent looks like they don't have removal spells, or if they're playing a Boros deck that doesn't have Luminous Bonds. Here, I'm just gonna. Speaking of never happened, I think it's actually a playable sideboard card. I think it's actually quite nice in the sideboard, but I'm just going to take Kraul Forgers. Intrusive Pack Beast. I'll decide whether I want to play that after I see what my final deck looks like. Another 2-drop, a bad 1-drop. So if this was my final like 23, like say I had to play a Fearless Halberdier, this would not be a horrible deck. I have combat tricks, I have some removal, but I'm hoping to cut these 5-drops. I don't want to have to play 5-drops in my deck. So I'm going to be optimistic. I don't think I'm going to have to play Torch Courier. I don't think I have to play either of these because it looks like I'm going to be ending up with a pretty solid deck. This is a pretty bad 2-drop. This is a pretty bad 2-drop if you don't get enough. I mean, I do have some combat tricks, so it gets better. But I think these are my better cards. I'm glad I picked up that Smelt Ward Minotaur. I'm definitely glad I have the Wojek Bodyguard. I think this deck is looking quite good here. Ooh, another Wojek Bodyguard. Wojek Bodyguard is basically like Skynet Legionnaire #2 in terms of like pick order. I think I might even take Wojek Bodyguard over Skynet Legionnaire in some scenarios. Like, I'm not sure. Skynet Legionnaire is probably better, but Wojek Bodyguard is the card that you're looking for in your packs. Like when you open the pack, you immediately check, is there a Skynet Legionnaire? Is there a Wojek Bodyguard? And then after that, is there a Healer's Hawk? I think a lot of the time I would take Healer's Hawk over Conclave Tribunal. I know that might be a bit of a odd perspective to have, but one of the reasons that I think you do that a lot of the time is because you don't need expensive removal in Boros. I do want to emphasize that fact. You don't need expensive removal. You don't need Luminous Bonds. You don't need Conclave Tribunal. If you have enough combat tricks, your combat tricks will be your removal spells. Your opponent plays a 2-drop. You play a 2-drop plus a combat trick, and you're just so much farther ahead than if you just cast Luminous Bonds on their guy. And you don't really want to be casting your Luminous Bonds on their 3-drops because then you're not gaining mana. Whereas if you use a Take Heart to kill their 3-drop, sure, you don't get into damage that turn, but you've been so much more efficient. Here we're going to take the Wojek Bodyguard easily. Ooh, another Runaway Steamkin. Definitely the pick here. I have a ton of red spells. Like a pretty high amount of red spells. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 red spells right now. So the odds of this being a 2/2 are almost guaranteed, which is like the minimum, and it can get even better. Command the Storm is fine, but as I said, you don't want expensive removal in Boros. So I'm just going to slam this Runaway Steamkin, and I'll prioritize red spells a little bit higher here. Like in this spot, Luminous Bonds, I think is comparable to Take Heart in this scenario. Like, Luminous Bonds, sure, it's unconditional removal, but Take Heart is just really, really efficient in terms of how it's going to interact with my opponent's creatures. And I think that it's close on which one I'm supposed to take. I could also just take a Skyline Scout, upgrade my 2-drop slot, and be pretty confident that the Take Heart is going to wheel based on how the rest of the packs have been going. I think that's another thing to consider as well. Because my 2-drop slot is definitely getting better. 10th District Guard isn't the greatest, though. I guess my 2-drops are fine. I have 7 2-drops. Well, I really don't want to have to run any of these cards in my sideboard, because none of them are particularly great. I think I will take the second the Luminous Bonds over the Skyline Scout, but I'm not sure it's even correct. And now I'm going to take the Goblin Banneret. Another good 1-drop is always appreciated. Goblin Banneret is one of the better 1-drops for Boros, so I'm happy to pick it up. It's also a red spell for my Steamkins. Sure Strike is in this pack, but I do have 3 combat tricks, and Sure Strike has a slight chance of wheeling. Skynet Legionnaire is a nice pickup. I would take Blade Instructor, but Skynet Legionnaire is just so good that it's pretty much never correct to pass it. And here's a Cosmotronic Wave. I think that I don't want to main deck Cosmotronic Wave. I think that's a bit of a trap. A lot of the time, you really want to just have all of your cards just do something immediately. And Cosmotronic Wave, any card that sits in your hand, this is my perspective on Boros right now, at least at the moment. Any card that sits in your hand that you can't cast immediately, granted, like if you have a 3-drop, you can't cast it on turn 1. But any card that you can't cast immediately as soon as you have the mana is a card that you don't really want in Boros. That's my perspective right now. I know Cosmotronic Wave definitely has merit, so I'm going to take it over a Hunted Witness, because I do have 3 1-drops already, and Hunted Witness is my weakest one. And I already have one. But Cosmotronic Wave is definitely just going to be a sideboard card for me. And here I'm just going to take a Take Heart over a Ribblepelt Boar. I love Take Heart in this type of deck. Ribblepelt Boar, I do already have 3 4-drops. I'm looking to play 15 lands. 16 lands in this deck, so I don't want to have too many 4-drops. And Fresh Face Recruit came back. Oh, it didn't come back. This is just the pack I opened, which means Fresh Face Recruit might come back from the opening pack. It didn't end up coming back. Citywide Bust is interesting as a sideboard card. Given that I'm not going to be playing a 10th District Guard, I already have a Torch Courier for if I wanted that effect. I already have an Intrusive Pack Beast for if I wanted that. I think I might take Citywide Bust and have it as a just potent sideboard card against certain decks. Maybe just killing all of their creatures and keeping all of mine alive. And on a similar note, I guess I'll just take a Collar the Culprit. Yep, Take Heart did come back out of that Luminous Bonds pack. So I really like this deck. I think it's a very good version of Boros. Ooh, choices, choices, choices. I guess I would probably rather have 2 Barging Sergeants than 2 Intrusive Pack Beasts. But I don't think I'm going to run any of them. So this deck ended up very good, I think. I'm not sure if that Luminous Bonds pick was correct. It does, like, it is significantly higher on my curve than I would like. Like a 3-drop, but group creatures separately. Okay, so I have 27 cards. This is 26. I can definitely make a cut. I think I'm going to cut Parhelion Patrol. It's just the slowest card, the smallest card, the worst card, I think, in the deck. It's also one of the most expensive cards. Sure, it can buff up a Hunted Witness or something, but that's not really great. And now the choice is whether I want to run 15 lands or 16 lands. I think if you have 4 drops, period, it's probably correct to run 16. Hunted Witness is probably my weakest card. I do have 2 other 1-drops. Because I got the Goblin Ban Array, I don't really need this as much. I also have a Boros Guildgate, which is like a 1-drop. So I think I'm going to go 16 lands and cut the Hunted Witness here. Let's just double check. I don't want to run any 5-drops if I'm running a 16 land deck, really. Parhelion Patrol is probably a little bit better than Hunted Witness even. I love all the combat tricks. I like having 17 creatures. Maybe I'd rather run 1 Parhelion Patrol over the 4th Take Heart. Yeah, I could see that being correct. Just so I have another like creature that impacts the board. It also works really nicely with my other mentor creatures. I don't love 10th District Guard, but I think it's nice to have just 2 drops in the deck. Yeah, I think this is a nice curve. And having a flyer just makes it a little bit annoying for the opponent. I do end up with 4 combat tricks, so I think that's good. So by color, I'm probably just running, yeah, okay, I'm going to run 1 extra planes. Yeah, 8/7 plus the Guildgate. So I think this deck is quite good. I think the closest card to being in the deck is the Take Heart, but I do want to have 18 creatures, I think. I think 18 creatures is a really nice number to have. Cosmotronic Wave is a card that I'll probably board in certain matchups. Take Heart versus Parhelion Patrol. Yeah, I think I just want to have as many creatures as I can, and that is going to be the deck. Hello and welcome to round 1. I would like to play first. This is unfortunately a mulligan. Not a huge deal. Okie doke, this hand is nice. I'm going to keep. Fire Urchin. I'm going to scry Fire Urchin to the bottom. It's one of my weaker cards, and I would like to draw a 3rd land so I can curve Steamkin into Smeltward Minotaur if I can. Okie doke. I'm going to start with the Steamkin so that it can get bigger with all the creatures I cast. Fresh-Faced Recruit does grow it, which is cool. Okay, he has a Mesmerist. Perfect. Land is nice. So here, my choice is between attacking and killing his guy with the Take Heart, or just playing the Smeltward Minotaur, and then deploying the Fresh-Faced Recruit, of course. I'm just going to play the Smeltward Minotaur. I think it's going to be nicer overall, and this way I might not have to use my combat trick at all, because the 2/3 is already bigger than this, and my Fresh-Faced Recruit is going to make this into a 3/3, which is going to be bigger than the Mesmerist as well. So overall, just a little bit more efficient. Also, my 10th District Guard. Ooh, he's playing 3 colors. 3 colors on turn 3. Always have it. Pure skill. I'm just kidding. I like it when we get to play a real game. Okay, so he's 2 for 1ing himself to kill my Runaway Steamkin. Okay, now I'm just going to deploy 2 more creatures. I like to deploy the 10th District Guard last because it is the worst attacker. But here, this is exactly the spot I'd like to be in. If he casts a 4-drop, the chances are my take card's going to let my creature trade with his guy in many scenarios, especially because I have this 10th District Guard. Okay, so it's important to be aware of Whisper Agent when he has this mana up, also Artful Takedown. If he does go for the Artful Takedown, I can potentially save my creature. But looks like he might just have nothing. Or Whisper Agent. So if he goes for the Whisper Agent, I have my take card, obviously. Though it may have been better to cast my 10th District Guard pre-combat on this guy to protect against Whisper Agent. Doke, I'll do that. Okay, he casts another Radical Idea. Yeah, I think that baiting him into blocking my Smeltward Minotaur is a bit of a mistake. If he has a Whisper Agent, I think I should have cast 10th District Guard pre-combat. Watcher in the Mist, sure. How close am I to killing him? I'm thinking, because if I use Take Heart, I can get the Smeltward Minotaur to make it so that I can't block. There's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I can't kill him. But I can just attack with these 3. Use a Take Heart, kill the Watcher in the Mist for 1 mana. Ooh, now can I kill him? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. No, I can't. So I'm just going to attack with these 3. And then next turn I can guaranteed kill him pretty much if he doesn't deal with my Smeltwood Minotaur in some way. Because I can just make his guys unable to block. Like, not attacking with Healer's Hawk pretty much gives away what I have there. But it doesn't really matter. Like, he can't do anything about it. He doesn't block there, but if he doesn't have a way to kill, like, 2 of my creatures this turn, he's probably dead anyway. Oh, he's playing green as well. Interesting. Muse Drake. I am not a huge fan of Muse Drake. But him casting it means that I win, so I'm a huge fan of it right now. I do want to talk about a little bit. I try to talk about this every time I see Muse Drake. I try to talk about why I'm not a huge fan of it, because it might strike you as a bit odd. Like, sure, it's a 2-for-1 creature. It's a 1/3 flyer. It's just very, very small for its mana cost. It's a 1/3. And a lot of the time, since you're blocking with Muse Drake a lot of the time, a 1/3 is not a super effective blocker on turn 4 a lot of the time. If I spend my turn 4 casting a 4/3 or something like that size, that's like an average size 4-drop, a 3/4 or 4/3, and you spend your turn 4 casting a 1/3, it doesn't really deal with my 4-drop. Sure, it might deal with my 2-drop, but my 2-drop has already gotten in for like 4 damage at that point, or traded with your 2-drop. So Muse Drake as a blocker is not super effective, and as an attacker, it only attacks for 1, so it's not even super effective as an attacker. Here we have lethal. There's no card for a single blue that he could have to deal with my creatures, so I'm just gonna go for lethal here. Make it so that can't block, take heart again, make it so that can't block, win the game. It's important to know what your opponents could have at all times for that type of thing. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell. Okay, any instant or sorcery. So I'm going to target that guy. Make Muse Drake unable to block. And pretty easy game overall. Okie doke. So what do we want potentially against a Dimir deck? Citywide Bust is the type of card that you can sometimes bring in. Like Call of the Culprit. If I was a slower deck, I would definitely consider Call of the Culprit because it kills Watcher in the Mist. However, Take Heart combined with any of my 2-drops can kill Watcher in the Mist, so that's like way better. I think I'm just going to keep the main deck the same. It seems pretty well set up to deal with his deck. I might swap out a Luminous Bonds for a Take Heart because he does have Severed Strands, and I think they're pretty comparable in my deck anyway. With Take Heart might even be a little bit better. So I think I'm going to make that swap just because Severed Strands, if I Luminous Bonds, then he gets to Severed Strands something for free. That's pretty bad for me. I don't really want Cosmotronic Wave. I want to keep my creature density high. Yeah, looks good. On to game 2. Okie doke. I think this hand is slow. Is not slow, but it's not the greatest hand. But I am going to keep it. On the draw, the game's going to be a little bit grindier. My Healer's Hawk is probably going to get in for like 4 or 5 damage. I have some decent components. I have fine mana. Like, obviously, I don't want to draw land, but like, ooh, that was a great draw. That was a wonderful draw. Holy Jesus. I have a lot of 2-drops. I have a lot of 3-drops. So I have a lot of good draws. I only have 16 lands, so I only have 12 left in my deck at that point. And his deck is really slow, so he's not going to be able to punish me aggressively. I just have to make sure I can kill him before he can do anything too fearsome to me. Cast Leech and Guildmage. Next turn, I'll probably like Take Heart, whatever he tries to play, like use my attack aggressively and use Take Heart. I doubt I'm going to need to Conclave Tribunal. I do like Rebel Pelt Boar a pretty decent amount in decks with mentor creatures because it can help you mentor better things. Okay, he's just going to return my Legion Guildmage. That's fine. That actually works out nice for me because I don't have a good turn 3 play right now. So now I can just play my tap land, attack him, play my Legion Guildmage again. He mulliganed, and now he played Selective Snare, which is card disadvantage. I don't like Selective Snare very much. I have gotten blown out by it because all my creatures happen to be humans at one point, but I still don't think it's a great card. And here, the Muse Drake, getting shown up in a big way by Take Heart. Like, he does draw a card, sure, but here, I'm definitely not going to play the Rebel Pelt Boar. Rebel Pelt Boar would make my Healer's Hawk trade. I'm just going to attack, use my Take Heart to save my lifelink guy. Play my Skyline Scout. So I have 5 power on the board. He has nothing on the board. I have a Conclave Tribunal in my hand and a Rebel Pelt Boar that I can deploy. I'm feeling pretty good about my situation. Pitiless Gorgon. That's alright with me. Okay. I think I'm actually just going to kill the Pitiless Gorgon. Like, it might not seem like the best use of my mana, but I do have a Legion Guildmage that can tap his guy no matter what. And this just... I also have the Rebel Pelt Boar. Casting your removal on, like, easy targets is really key in Boros. You don't want to save your removal for a big target, because it just lowers your pressure. Here, I still have 6 power on the board. It's going to be 7 power. It's going to be like 9 power next turn. He plays another Pitiless Gorgon. It doesn't even matter. Here, I'm just going to play Rebel Pelt Boar. I don't care if any of my guys trade off. I'm just buffing up the Healer's Hawk, because it's guaranteed to get in. It has lifelink. And I'll just attack with everything. He could trade off for my Legion Guildmage, but he's going to die regardless. Sure, he trades off with the Runaway Steamkin. He's too afraid of that card, I think. And now, next turn, I can just play my land and ping him. I should have played my land so that I could ping him. That was a pretty easy match. His deck was really slow. Do I want to make any changes to the main deck? Luminous Bonds versus the 4th Take card is really close. I do want to keep my creature count high. I'm going to put the Take card in. Okay, doke. So that's going to do it for round 1, and I'll see you for round 2. Hello, and welcome to round 2. Quick update, I did end up putting the Luminous Bonds back in my deck over the Take card. I just think it's a little bit better to have a little bit of diversity in game 1, but depending on my opponent's deck, I might make that sideboard change. We won the die roll again, which is really nice for Boros, so we will be going first. Fortunately, we have to mulligan again. 1-landers aren't really keepable. Neither are no-landers. Opponent is on a mulligan as well, though, so we are a little bit more even. We are going to keep this, though. We will scry the land to the top, because we do have a 4-drop in our hand that we want to be able to cast. So not the greatest hand, but hopefully we can get the job done. Playing against a green deck, that's maybe a good sign. The green decks tend to be a little bit worse in general. Fortunately, this is my worst 2-drop, I think, but it's still fine, especially with Parhelion Patrol. Opponent also mulliganed, so I can maybe catch up thanks to that. Okay. So I am going to be able to cast my Parhelion Patrol, but I would like to draw more spells from now on. Like, if I draw another land next turn, it's going to be rough, because my curve does top out at 4. Okay, Healer's Hawk for my opponent. That's clearly their draw for the turn, I think. Either that or they didn't draw very... Okay, not going to be stupid. We're going to attack him first. No need to let him trade a take heart for my 1/3, especially because I'm playing the Parhelion Patrol. So I'm in a decent spot here. My Parhelion Patrol is going to keep buffing this guy, because I think I am going to use my combat tricks to let it buff. If I can, of course. Mentor up that guy. Play my Skyline Scout. Pass the turn. This is where combat tricks are really nice, because I can keep buffing my guys. Definitely blocking. I have a combat trick of my own. Weird. Oh, okay. Okay, that makes sense. That was well played by the opponent. He waited for me to take the damage before he used his Righteous Blow. Otherwise, I could have used my Sure Strike to save my guy. Affectionate Indrik. Okay, what's he going to target? He's probably going to target my... Ooh, that was really smart of him. Okay. We are going to take hearts that they trade. I wish he targeted my Fire Urchin, but that's the nature of the game sometimes. Okay, so we are not in the greatest of shape, but this thing can hit for 2, 5, 6 damage when I use my Sure Strike on it. Oh, that was such a good draw. Oh my god. This is why we were playing our lands out. Aurelia. Basically kills him. Man, Aurelia is such a beating. I'm glad we played our land out the turn before. You only ever really want to hold 1 land in your hand. There's not really that much upside to holding 2. Okay, Generous Stray is not going to cut it. Because this does have Mentor, so I'm going to be able to target itself, Mentor up the Fire Urchin. And the Fire Urchin has Trample. Boom. So that was a pretty close game, but I did draw the Aurelia on a very nice turn. I think this Boros deck is completely busted. This is like the best Boros deck I've ever had or seen, probably. I have so many rares. I mean, I have 3 rares, but I have 2 Sky Knights, 2 Wojaks, Legion Guildmate. This is a very good deck. Okay. Citywide Bust might come in this matchup. I saw Rosemane Centaur and Indrik. Granted, those are relatively expensive cards. Take Heart might want to come in. I think I would bring in Citywide Bust before I brought in a Call of the Culprit, just because he could have multiple creatures, and my only guys with 4 toughness are either Aurelia, which I'm obviously not going to play Citywide Bust to kill my own Aurelia, and maybe like a card that got mentored up to be bigger. So these are the 2 cards I'm considering. What seems bad in the matchup? What is a bad card against what he's doing? All my cards seem pretty good, to be quite honest. I think I'm going to bring in Take Heart over Sure Strike. Just because he has the Indrik, which is a fight spell, so I might be able to save my guy thanks to that. And he also has Righteous Blow, which buffs targets the toughness. So I think Take Heart's going to be a little bit more effective than Sure Strike. I do have 2 Runaway Steamkins, which is one reason to want more red spells. But I think in the face of those 2 cards, Take Heart's going to be better. And then I think I'll be able to kill him before he can deploy his 4 toughness cards. So I'm going to just try it like this. And this is a phenomenal hand. Definitely keeping. This is why you want to have cheap cards like Healer's Hawk. Starting the game on turn 1 is really nice for a Boros deck, especially on the draw when you might be forced to just make sure you get him early. Opponent is off to a slow start, which is just what I like to see. Oh my gosh, perfect curve out. Oh, I messed that up so badly. Oh no! I deserve it. Punish me, opponent. Okay. Whew. Righteous Blow, I'm not even sure if it's worth using my Take Heart to stop the Righteous Blow, in all honesty. Okay, so here, I could attack first and use my Take Heart to kill this, but I'd rather play my Sky Knight Legionnaire because I get in for the same amount of... I get in for more damage this way. I hit him for 3 in the air, and I also save my Take Heart, use my mana more efficiently, and set up for future turns where my Take Heart can get his Centaur Peacemaker next turn, and I'll be more mana efficient. Generous Stray, okay. Also here, I can utilize my Rebel Pelt Boar to let this card trade for his Peacemaker. Or I can just force through maximum damage. I think I'm going to use the Boar to try and make a trade, because the Boar is also a ground creature. So if this thing trades with the Peacemaker, the Boar is easier to get in. So he does make the trade, which is good for me, because now my 3/3 ground creature has more attacks available to it. District Guide, okay. I think it's definitely close, though. He would be at 15, but I wouldn't really... He would have a 3/3 still. Okay. Okay, just going to attack with everything here. Okay, going to use double Take Heart. Keep my board alive. I do gain a ton of life this way, too. Going to hold the land in case he plays a Burglar Rat on me. That's an effective card against me in this scenario. Okay. Takes down my Legionnaire. We are going to Conclave Tribunal his 4/4. It's one of his bigger cards. Puts him down to 12. We still have this card and a Rebel Pelt Boar, but he does have, yeah, a lot of access to cards as well. Okay, that's a nice draw. Just going to send for 1. Play the Legion Guild Mage. Play the land out. I don't want to discard the land now because I want to be able to activate the Legion Guild Mage's deal 3 ability. Corral Foragers. Sure, he gains 4 life. That's pretty effective. I am at 38, though, so I'm going to have time to kill him. I can also... I'm going to play the land so that I can potentially use Legion Guild Mage and play a spell. Find Finality. Yeah, that's really bad for me. Okie doke. So that's a really good card for him to have here. So he's going to be left with a 6/6. I do have a huge life total, so if I find a creature here, I could definitely still get him. But definitely not in the greatest shape. The thing is even if he trades 6 for 2, I'm still winning the race. Oh no. Hatchery Spider. Oh dear. Oh gosh. That has got to be the best Hatchery Spider I've ever seen in my entire career. Okay, so his deck has multiple Indrix. What happened to the first Indrik? I thought I already fought it, killed it. Oh no, the Indrik is exiled. Yeah. Okay. Boom. Oh, whoops. That's a shit. It has reach. I can't win this game. Okay. Whoops. Yeah, I wasn't winning that game anyway. Okay. So what seems good against that deck? Definitely bringing in Citywide Bust now. It kills a lot of his creatures. Could be just super effective. I'm going to take out a Take Heart for it. I want to keep my creature count high, is the logic. Sure Strike's looking a little bit better now that I know he has some other big creatures that like make maybe I don't even trade if I don't have a Sure Strike. Pack Beast, Call of the Culprit are other considerations. I do want to keep my curve low though. Parhelion Patrol doesn't seem all that effective against him. Just it's one of my slower cards. He doesn't seem to struggle that much with flyers necessarily. Yeah, it's just one of my slower cards. I'm gonna. Man, I just want to keep my creature count high. I'm gonna take out a Take Heart for a Sure Strike though. So I am keeping my creature density high. And I'm on the play this game. Excellent hand. It's really tricky though. Do I play the Boros Guildgate on turn 1 or the Healer's Hawk on turn 1? I think I play the. I definitely play the Healer's Hawk because I don't have a turn 2 play. And I have a Wojek Bodyguard that I want to play on turn 3. A little bit punished. Perfect. That is exactly what I wanted to have happen. Because now I get to play the Guildgate anyway. I attacked before making the decision because if he has Righteous Blow, it makes it pretty easy for me. I'm not going to attack him. I'm just going to play the Wojek Bodyguard and pass. I want Wojek to be able to attack. Sure, I'll take it. Okay, this is a really good situation for me. Wojek's going to be able to mentor the Parhelion Patrol, and then Parhelion Patrol becomes a beast. Okay, I'm glad I kept it in. I'm definitely glad I kept it in over a combat trick, because it's having enough creatures is the key. You want to have enough creatures and enough spells to be reasonable. Okay. That was really good for him. That was like a really good spot for him to have that card. Keep attacking, keep the pressure up. I am actually going to play the land here. I haven't seen a single discard effect, and if I draw another land, I might want to be able to deal 3 to him. Luminous Bonds that. Attack with everything. This puts him on a pretty quick clock. He's chumping, which means he has finality in his hand and is just looking for a land. Probably. That's what that says to me. Crowl Forgers also makes a little bit of sense. I'm not going to play my Sky Knight Legionnaire. I'm just going to deal 3 to him with this guy. If he doesn't find a land for his finality here, I'm definitely in good shape. Okay, yeah, I win. If he found the land for finality, I don't even lose because I did sandbag the Sky Knight Legionnaire a little bit. And he concedes. Boom. Quick 2-0 start with Boros. I'm liking the main deck configuration. I think the Luminous Bonds is pretty nice compared to the Take Heart. I think it just gives you a little bit more flexibility if they have a bigger creature that you need to get out of the way. But yeah, that is going to do it for round 2. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll be back for round 3. Hello and welcome to round 3 of this draft league. We're playing Boros, and we lost the die roll for the first time, actually, so we did pretty well in die rolls, but our deck is pretty sweet, and hopefully we can get them some wins. Okay, so this is a close hand. We don't have any planes, and the hand does nothing if we don't draw planes. This is where having a Boros Guild Gate is huge, because it's like an extra white source. We have, our mana base is 8, 7, 1, so we have 9 white sources in the deck. And if we draw a white source, we win the game because Aurelia is so good. We have 2 Sky Knight Legionnaires. So this is where we can do some math, or we can. I think we keep this hand just because Aurelia is so good. If you're just at your table at F&M and you see this opening hand, I mean, without any access to mathematical tools to see the odds of drawing a white source, here's what you can just do. You can say, I have 9 white sources in my deck. I have 33 cards left in my deck. If I draw a white source by turn 3, so I can cast a Sky Knight Legionnaire, I'm in pretty good shape. What are the odds of me drawing 1 white source in 3 draw steps? Because I have turn 1, turn 2, and turn 3. So it's about 1 in 4, because 9 out of 36 is 1 in 4, so it's a little bit higher than 1 in 4. And it's 3 tries. So it's a higher than 50% chance, like a 70% chance, say, just off the top of my head. It's probably a little bit better than that, so I'm going to keep this hand based on that estimation. Also, like, if I draw planes on my first draw step, I just win the game. Or a Boros Guild Gate on my first draw. Granted, this hand can lose. There are definitely scenarios where I just lose with this hand without ever drawing a planes. But there are enough scenarios where I win the game because of the keep of this hand that I think it's worth it. Wojak Bodyguard, 0 for 1. Swing and a miss. Okay. Playing a House Guild Mage. Playing against Demir. And we hit the planes. And we get to start our train rolling, as they say. That's a pretty good start. Okay, Darkblight Agent. Here we're going to just play our Sky Knight Legionnaire. No need to risk Wojak Bodyguard getting kind of stuck. Sky Knight Legionnaire is just going to get in for a lot of damage. It's harder to block. Like Wojak Bodyguard, he could double block. Here he has no real blocks for the Sky Knight Legionnaire. If he wants to be attacking with Darkblade Agent, we'll let him draw those extra cards, probably. We'll slam probably Aurelia next turn. It's really hard to deal with. Even if he captures Fears it, he can't really do much. Like, if he attacks here and then surveils with House Guild Mage, I'm just going to win the game. Like, okay, no block. Like, sure, you're drawing a card and surveilling, but you're not really developing your board at all. Which is the real key for me here, is that I'm still casting spells. I'm still developing my board, but he's not doing anything. Definitely playing Aurelia here. It's just the most mana efficient play. It's a huge amount of damage. We'll buff up that guy. Hit him for 6. We're definitely not blocking him, so it doesn't really matter which one we buff up. And we want to play the Aurelia, even though it could eat a removal spell here. He'd have to have a 4 mana removal spell, because it looks like he's whiffing on lands a little bit. Okay, so he Severed Strands my Aurelia. He 2 for 1'd himself to kill my Aurelia, which is fine for me. He does gain 3 life, but now if I draw a land, I can go Runaway Steamkin into Sky Knight Legionnaire, into Wojak Bodyguard probably, over the Sky Knight Legionnaire. I think Wojak Bodyguard would be better now. Okay, so we are just going to... I think now is our chance to cast... okay. We're gonna... So he has 2 mana up. What are the spells he could have? He could have Unexplained Disappearance. And that makes a decent amount of sense. So I think I'm just going to... He could also just be holding up House Guild Mage activation. I think I'm just gonna Wojak. I'm just gonna attack and play Wojak Bodyguard. He's gonna keep this guy tapped for a turn, presumably. Yep, I'm fine making this trade. Does beg the question why he sacked Dark Blade Agent instead of Severed Strands. I think Wojak Bodyguard just does a little bit more here because I'm going to be able to make my Sky Knight Legionnaire into a 3/3 because it does have haste. If I draw a land, I can go Steamkin into Sky Knight Legionnaire. Rampaging Monument. Okie doke. Oh my gosh, that was a disgusting draw. Oh, never mind, it wasn't. It wasn't, because I can't attack anyway. Shoot. Okay, I'm just going to play my Parhelion Patrol then. Use my mana efficiently. It would have been a disgusting draw. Now I can 10th disregard up my Wojak Bodyguard so it can't be blocked by Rampaging Monument efficiently. I think I'm in great shape this game. One of the keys with Darkblade Agent is don't be too afraid of letting them draw a card, because it does put them significantly behind on board state and tempo. Okay, I'm just going to play 10th Disregard here, buff up the Wojak Bodyguard. Holding up my Sure Strike. Because now, yeah, I think it's just a nice little thing to do. You could have Artful Takedown. Like, kill my Wojak Bodyguard. Maybe that was a mistake. It could have been right to hold up the Take Heart. I'm still in good shape, though. If I hold up the Take Heart there instead of playing the 10th Disregard, I just like getting the creature onto the board. And it could just be that he's mana screwed. You never know. That is the downside of the Wojak, though. If I'd played Sky Knight Legionnaire instead, it would have just done a lot more. Okay, so he gets to see my hand, but it won't really help him all that much. He probably has to take the Sure Strike. He probably has to take Sky Knight Legionnaire, to be quite honest, or he just dies. And that means that Sure Strike is going to wreck him, presumably. Like, it seems very unlikely that he can beat this hand. I'm definitely going to Wojak Bodyguard up the Sky Knight Legionnaire. If he blocks here, I can Sure Strike it, and it gets the counter, so it can still trade. I'm going to go for it. I think it's worth the risk that he has a bounce spell. Okay, so he did have the bounce spell, but I do get to replay the Wojak Bodyguard, and my Steamkin will get a little bigger as a result. So it's not the end of the world. He is at 6. I have 3 powered creatures and a Take Heart. I'm feeling like I'm in good shape to win this game. Hired Poisoner. Sure. Definitely casting that pre-combat to buff my runaway Steamkin. He doesn't have a counterspell, or he probably would have countered that. I'm not sure. So he can block all of my ground creatures. Maybe this attack was too aggressive, I'm not sure. You can go block, block, block. Gonna save my creature. Now I have two. I'm not sure what's better there. Definitely close. Okay, Watcher in the Mist. So if I draw a combat trick, I win. If I draw a removal spell, I win. If I draw Robohill Boar, I win. If I draw a land, I do not win. Maybe I messed that up. Maybe I was just supposed to only attack with Sky Knight Legionnaire that turn, and it would have worked out better. He only has one card in hand, so I'm still in fine shape. I still have a lot of the same outs next turn. Okay, so he's out of cards. Out of gas. As long as he keeps whiffing, I am in fine shape. But if he hits spells and I whiff, then I'm going to lose. That is a fine draw. It's another lethal threat. It can buff up my Sky Knight Legionnaire. Oh no, he drew a spell. Wow. That was a really good top deck. That was like the brutalist top deck. That is really bad for me. It's a spell, so he gets a bird. Oh gosh. It happens sometimes. Sometimes there's just games like this where your opponent is... Wow, that was another good top deck. Jesus. Yeah, I think I lose this game thanks to those two. If he'd drawn like land, or land creature, or creature, I could have won this game. But yeah, that was just two very brutal top decks in a row. Oh, he goes to 1. Jesus. Notion Rain. It doesn't even matter. The difference between 1 and 0 is not huge here. Just taking a hit for 9. 9 damage. It's really weird. If I had passed the turn, only hit him with the Sky Knight Legionnaire, and then he would have gone to the 3, and he wouldn't have gotten to trade off so well. I didn't play around Whisper Agent, because he was dead if he didn't have Whisper Agent, so I just went for the lethal. Jesus, what is this guy's life? That is like, oh my gosh. I am so confused. How does anyone have this much skill in their possession? Jesus. That was the most... Okay, I'm not going to lie. That was like the most brutal top deck sequence I've ever seen. Okay. It happens. Not much I can do there. I think if I waited a turn, I might have been able to pull it out, but I think it's correct to go for it because I don't know he has the thing there. Knowing that he has Murmuring Mystic makes you want to bring in Cosmotronic Wave because it kills all the guys really cleanly. Citywide Bust is another possibility. It kills his Mystic. It kills his Watcher in the Mist. Take Heart is another interesting consideration. I think I'm going to bring in Cosmotronic Wave for this matchup specifically. And I'll cut a Take Heart for it. Because he also has a Hired Poisoner. He has like a couple cards it's good against. Wow, I really thought I was going to win that game. That game I felt very favored to win. I also had that one play. He just had every single card he possibly needed to win, so I can't like play around everything. And I think you lose more games by not going for it. Like he had that one turn where he had the Unexplained Disappearance for my Wojak Bodyguard when I attacked with everything. Which wasn't even that bad for me, but he had the Unexplained Disappearance, and if he hadn't had the Unexplained Disappearance, he was going to lose. He just, I don't know, it just kind of worked out for him that game. It just kind of worked out. We're going to keep this hand. It's not the best hand. Doesn't have a red mana source. But it has a couple 2-drops. Has a Take Heart. Has the potential to curve out really nicely. 2-drop into 2-drop plus Take Heart into Rubble Pelt Boar. So I just need to draw like, yeah, a red land, a couple lands over the course of the next several turns. Important stat to know is that you are about 70% to hit a land on your draws. Okay, so we're going to start with the Skyline Scout. That was our worst possible draw on the deck. No, we're not going to pay to attack. We will take Heart, save our guy, and then we'll play our 10th District card. If this had been a mountain, I would feel like we could win this game. Since we don't actually have access to red mana right now, I feel like we're going to lose. Which happens sometimes. We drew 2 lands, and neither of them was a mountain. It happens. I think last game was the game we had to win. You don't get as many opportunities. You definitely sometimes have games that just go badly. Like he mulliganed. I had a really good start, and he managed to get it done. To be fair, though, we were in a very close board state, and he top decked 3 straight cards that were great. Oh, man. He gets to see that I have nothing going on. I think Rubble Pelt Boar is definitely the correct choice. Since I don't really care about this extra planes, I am just going to hold it in my hand to discard, since I can't cast anything until I draw a mountain anyway. And I'm fine trading off my 2/2 for the 1/1 Death Touch, because I have Wojak Bodyguard and stuff. I'd rather connect. Okay, this is the turn where I need to draw a mountain. If I don't draw a mountain this turn, I think it's game over. It's frustrating, but it happens. Everyone has these games, and you just gotta live with them. That last game, everyone has those games too. My opponent must have been really happy, so at least good for him, but definitely frustrating. I felt like I played that pretty well. I went for the lethal attack, and he just happened to have the Whisper Agent. And then he top decked like 4 cards in a row. So I can't do anything there. Okay. Now I need to draw a mountain. Come on, mountain. Opponent's also mana screwed, but he has both his colors. Like, look at the difference. He has a guild gate, which gives him access to both his colors, and I don't. I have just all planes. And I'm going to play the planes now. Because if I draw 2 mountains in a row, I want to be able to start deploying all my spells. All he needs is a Surveil card, and I lose. Doesn't have it yet. He's just going to keep deploying them. Jeez, okay, that's a Surveil card. There's the mountain. If I'd gotten this mountain a turn ago, then we'd be talking. If he does Surveil on his main phase, though, it does open me up to get a nice attack in, and if I draw a mountain, I can deploy both my other threats. So maybe I have a chance. Okay, he drew a land. That means he's almost definitely got Artful Takedown. He has 4 spells in his hand. I know he has 2 of them. That's probably game. I needed him to whiff, so he'd have to use his House Guild Mage. Yep, that was expected. He probably has a second one, too. That's the downside of Wojak Bodyguard. You can easily pick him off, isolate him. Oh yeah, we're totally dead. Watcher in the Mist. Attack with his Darkblade agents. Dang. It was really a good run, though. I think our deck is like the best Boros deck I've ever had, or seen, probably. Yeah. He hits us for 6 again. We're not actually dead, technically. Because we can... Opponent just massacred me. I mean, his deck was pretty solid. I felt like I had a good matchup against him, though. Especially that game 1. I could have definitely beaten him. I want to rewatch that, actually. It's really important to rewatch some of the decisions you make, I think. Not to, like, kick yourself for the decisions you make, but just to learn. There was that one attack I made where if I had maybe just attacked with Sky Knight Legionnaire, I would have been in better shape. It's hard, though, because the ground creatures are always going to make, like, similar trades. Except his Rampaging Monument got to eat one of my guys. Okay. So he was able to kill my Aurelia with his Severed Strands, which was a big turning point. And then this is, like, the real thing. He has this Rampaging Monument that he just... I go for the... Okay, that potentially was a play that lost me the game, too. If I play around Artful Takedown there, instead of playing my 10th District Guard so this guy can attack in, I can hold up my Take Heart for him doing that play pre-combat. And then I Take Heart, and then I can attack with Wojak Bodyguard. Sure Strike this guy. That's probably the play that lost me the game. Wow. Granted, he might do it a little bit differently if I don't play my 10th District Guard pre-combat. But that was like a game-losing play, potentially. I have all of the pressure. I have 2 combat tricks. all I need to do, if I play around, I mean, he could have played around my Take Heart by, and he seemed like a good opponent, so he probably might, he quite very well could have killed this guy, tapped my Parhelion Patrol. But Parhelion Patrol is much better with Wojek Bodyguard anyway. And then I would just do the same thing, but I'd have a Parhelion Patrol instead of a Sky Knight Legionnaire. And then he Thought Erasures me, takes my Sky Knight Legionnaire, and he's holding up his Unexplained Disappearance. And I do go for the all-out attack. Three, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Could I have killed him here? Oh no, because he has the bounce spell. But important to think about, because this is 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I do like 9 damage to him. Put him to 4. I think I played this correctly though. But yeah, that one turn. Like here, I have 4 lethal attackers. No, 4 attackers, any 2 of which are lethal. And he's deploying his guy. I think I have to attack here. I think you have to just... He has 3 cards in hand. The odds of him having a 3-drop... He literally has been using his mana every turn for the entire game. The odds of him having a Whisper Agent are not incredibly high. Like, they're not... Maybe I could assume because of his Thought Erasure Surveil and his Unexplained Disappearance Surveil. Like, but... If I just attack with Sky Knight Legionnaire, it puts him down to 3. He can't do anything about that. I play my Fire Urchin. And then the next turn I have a lot of lethal attackers. Like, can he... even if he has Whisper Agent, if I assume he has Whisper Agent here, I attack him with Sky Knight Legionnaire. Whisper Agent's the only card he could have, really. That would save him. I attack with only Sky Knight Legionnaire. He goes to 3. He untaps, plays Whisper Agent. And then he had Watcher in the Mist the next turn. So if I only attack with Sky Knight Legionnaire here, he goes to 3. Next turn, and he Whisper Agents. He has then got 3 ground blockers. I have 4 ground attackers. He then untaps, plays Watcher in the Mist. I then attack with everything, and he dies. No, because he can block here, 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 here. This guy can get +3. I think it was really tricky for me to win the game. Weird. Okay. Well, anyway, that is going to do it for this draft video. I hope you enjoyed it. We didn't manage to get the 3-0, but our deck was sweet. And we definitely drafted a great version of Boros. So I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, be sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe to get updates for whenever I post new content. But that's going to do it for this draft video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll talk to you next time.